Hey guys, this is Neo again from the Overclocker magazine, and today, of course, by the title, I'm here to talk to you about the GIGABYTE Z790 Gaming AX. So I wasn't initially going to do a review on this motherboard because it was for another project, but I've been using it for a while and there are some curious observations that I have about it. Some good, some not so good, but just know that in general value for money, I think this is a pretty decent board. And the reason I say that is because it's very similar to the Elite AX I reviewed months ago. And in fact, you'll see these motherboards are near identical to each other. But what lets you know that this is the cheaper version is simply the price. Right now at Progenix, you can get this Gaming AX for about 5,400 Rand. And that's a really good price, and I think that's maybe $228 or something like that. And that's a really good price for a Z790 motherboard. Now, does it mean that it's all the board you would ever need? No, of course not, because there are more high-end boards from GIGABYTE that have features this one does not have. But anyway, so if you start with the rear I/O, you're looking at the typical 4 USB 2.0 ports. You're looking at Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.3 support. So considering the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth, there's something really interesting, or rather something that you should be mindful of when dealing with this motherboard. There are 3 revisions here. There's PCB revision 1, 1.1 and 1.2. 1.1 has the AX211 and 1.2 has a Realtek controller for these. Feature set is identical, as I said, Bluetooth 5.3 and Wi-Fi 6E. But it is something to be aware of if for whatever reason you don't want to use an Intel controller or a Realtek controller. Back to the rest of the rear I/O, we have 2 USB 3.2 10 gigabits per second ports, and those are the red ones. And the 20 gigabits per second port, the Type C one, is of course located close to that. So there's nothing really special here. The one thing that I wish was on the rear I/O instead of on the motherboard itself is Q-Flash, and I'll get to that in a little bit. In terms of power, again, it's very similar to the Elite AX. The difference is it uses 60 amp power stages instead of the 90 amp power stages on the Elite AX. So aesthetically, these boards of course look very different. The heat sinks are different on this one compared to the Elite AX. And in fact, I think this board looks a lot better because of the choice of heatsink and the color scheme that they've used. The things that they removed, are they worthwhile? Who knows? But anyway, you get 4 M.2 sockets. There was a time I thought that was impressive, but now it's just standard. The thing is, none of those are Gen 5. And then on top of it as well, you need to know that unlike on the Elite AX that had 3 buttons, this one only has 2 buttons. One is designated as Q-Flash and the other one is programmable. I think this is a waste of a button, particularly the Q-Flash one, because I could have had it at the back or the rear I/O and use this button for something more meaningful like power on off. So moving on past all of that stuff, I want us to get to the actual BIOS, the software, and how I use this motherboard and the experience that I had with it. So depending on the IC that you have, whether you have Micron, you have Samsung, you have Heatsinks, they're going to have a few speed bins for you to select from. And I think for Micron it's between 5200 and 50 or 6000 or 5600 or something like that. But they also have for you as well the Heatsinks profiles. On the Heatsinks side, the thing that you will lament is the fact that they have only up to 6400 there as well, whereas we all know that you should at least have up until, heck, even give me 6800 or even 7000. That would be really nice. And I say this because the board officially supports DDR5 7600. Was I able to get 7600 to work on this motherboard? No, but I was using memory that isn't on the QVL. In fact, I was using 24 gigabit ICs. Does 7200 work? Of course, 7000 and so forth. So as far as I'm concerned, you should just be looking at 7200 as where you want to be. And even in terms of just raw performance, what you can do at 7200 with tight timings is going to, for the most part, beat what you're going to get at 7600, 8000 and all of that other stuff. So I don't think that's a problem. However, I want to talk to you about how the GIGABYTE BIOS works. So if you load any one of these profiles that I spoke to you about, and you want to tweak some other timing, secondary, tertiary, or even the primary timings, just know that you have to disable fast boot first to be able to do that. Because if you just set the timings and then you press F10 save and think it will apply, it won't. And another thing that you need to know about this motherboard is that while the performance is fantastic, right out the box, the performance is really good, I have no issues with it. when it comes to optimizing the voltage frequency curve for my particular CPU, it was just not what I was expecting. Mainly because I don't know how the voltage frequency curve works there. I set my voltage to selective, allows you to set the ratio and what offset you're going to use for that particular ratio and the ones in between. I try to do that just like I do on the ASUS boards and any other motherboards, and I wasn't able to do that. So as a result, my CPU was not able to reach the same level of performance as it can on the Apex, for example. So I don't know why this is the case. Again, it shouldn't bother most people, but it is something to be aware of. So overall, what am I telling you about this motherboard? I think it's a great value for money board. Definitely is. 5,400, you're getting a board with 4 M.2 sockets, Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth, 20 gigabits per second, USB Type-C, all of that good stuff. I was able to even post the system at DDR5 8000, showing you that the board is capable, and I have no doubt that it can do DDR5 7600, just like the Elite AX could. So that I wasn't able to do that speaks purely to the ICs that I chose to use. There's nothing to do with the board in particular. But with that said, let me know what you guys think of this motherboard. Do you think the Gaming X is a worthwhile replacement for the Elite AX? And if you are looking to buy a motherboard, or were looking to buy the Elite AX, would you be convinced by what I've just told you that you should perhaps go with this board given how similar they are? So let me know in the comments below. Until next time, remember to share, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. So take care and peace.